Okay, day 2 at the NAS Oceana Air Show, and the beautiful thing about coming home to Oceana is meeting old shipmates again. It's been years, but I wanted everybody to meet Kory Mehrer. Kory was one of our maintainers back in the early days of my career, my first Fleet Squadron VF-32, and you're in town, Kory, for a Gypsy reunion?
We are. We have our 4th Gypsy reunion at the air show this weekend. I finally got another one in after COVID.
That was your first squadron too, right?
You
were brand new.
Yeah.
So what was your rate?
I was an AMS.
And tell the people what an AMS does.
I was an aviation structural mechanic, and I worked on the structures, the skin, and the components of the F-14 Tomcat and the hydraulic systems.
If you've seen the Tommy Lee Visits the Fighter Guys episode, Kory is in that, and so you had gone to the concert the night before at Hampton Coliseum.
It was amazing.
It was an amazing show. This was the Girls, Girls, Girls tour, and we had kind of on a goof called Cellar Door Productions and said, hey, we'd like to give the guys a tour, and Tommy Lee actually took us up on it. So we showed him the airplane with a B stand, and then took him to the ready room, and then you got to meet him and say hi. And did he sign your program and
he
some
did.
other stuff? But let's talk about our early days together. So our first deployment was aboard the USS Independence.
That's right.
So what do you remember about that cruise?
Well, the Independence, I was temporary duty to S5, and I cleaned all the officer staterooms.
What?
Okay. I did.
So you knew everybody's secrets.
Not really.
Let's just tell everybody that, okay, so you go to boot camp, you strike for a rating.
Right.
In your case, AMS, and then you go to A school.
Right.
And then you join the squadron at that point?
Well, I had to go to FRAMP.
That's where you learn specifically about the Tomcat. So it's kind of like
systems.
the RAG for maintainers.
Right. Yeah, it was mostly about the hydraulic systems.
Okay, but the good news is when you get to the squadron, they farm you out to the ship to do menial tasks. Yeah, it's called I Division. So my first job at VF-32 was I was the I Division officer. So at the beginning of that deployment in what? That was 84, 85.
Yes, 84, 85.
Right.
Med IO cruise.
So you were an I Division guy. So I kept tabs on you.
Okay.
And yeah, right. Okay, if you say so. And so how long did you have to do that?
Just that cruise.
Okay.
When we got back to Oceana, I was on the line for maybe 2 or 3 months.
Okay.
And
as a plane captain?
As a plane captain.
A source of great pride. Yeah, so you got your name on the gear door there, on the nose wheel.
And then I was snatched out and sent to airframes pretty short after that.
Okay, so at that point we're getting ready for our second cruise, which was aboard the USS John F. Kennedy, which was right out of the yards. We had F-14As. The bureau numbers, I want to say, were like 160-ish.
159s to 161s.
Okay, so right in sort of the heart of the envelope. So these airplanes are kind of getting older.
A models.
And A models, so they require a lot of maintenance.
Yes.
So what do you remember about how temperamental the F-14 was?
Well, if it wasn't leaking, it was empty. We replaced a lot of hydraulic components. We had a lot of issues with saltwater intrusion on the panels out at sea. So I did a lot of delamination repairs on those. That was a lot of fun. I like doing that.
So you guys are working 2 shift?
Yes. 12
on, 12 off, right? So this is the other thing. They're working their asses off up there on the flight deck.
Yep.
We would do 10 cycle, 9 cycle days. We had, 7 airplanes on the roof at any given time?
I think so.
And we'd usually do 4 plane goes. So of those 7, 4 had to be ready.
Right.
We'd launch an event, fly around for a while. The previous event would trap, and we'd get with you and go, hey, here's, Petty Officer Mehrer, here's what's going on. And you would take 2, and you were like a pit crew, which is a lame analogy, but that's kind of what it was.
It seemed like we were constantly fixing something. We were always on the go. But being up there on the deck, there was nothing like being on the launch. But that was my favorite thing. And I volunteered to be a flight deck troubleshooter, so I got to be on all the launches, and it was just a great time.
So you took great pride in seeing the airplane, seeing us go flying.
Oh yeah, it was awesome.
I loved when I'd be all strapped in looking down, and like you or whomever would go, thumbs up, have a good one. It was just like, okay, this is a total team situation.
And it was a complete rush when that jet went off the end of the ship.
So nothing like a Tomcat in full afterburner. The F-14A, because remember the B and the D did not launch an afterburner.
Right.
And especially at night, You see that Afterburner
Exactly.
come alive? That is really a show. What did you do after that tour?
I got out in late November of '87.
And so what have you been doing now? I mean, I see you on Facebook is how we keep in touch. That's why it's so
Right.
great to see you again here in person.
So I went back to work for the company that I worked for before I went in the Navy. And I went back to work there as a welder fabricator. We manufacture striping equipment for athletic fields. And I've been there now 36 years, and I worked my way up, and I'm the product designer there.
Fantastic. So you're living in Colorado.
I am.
Again, I see on Facebook you have these amazing pictures of sunrises and
Thank you.
sunsets.
Thank you.
You're doing a lot of motorcycle riding.
Oh, yeah.
You look the part.
Much as I
I
can.
love the look. What kind of bike are you riding?
I have a Harley Davidson.
All-American?
I actually have a couple.
Well, Gypsy brother, it is fantastic to see you and catch
Great
up
to
after
see
all
you
these
too.
years. And I'm going to stop by the reunion later today.
That sounds great.
More from NAS Oceana Air Show Day 2 coming up, so stay tuned.